Hi everyone, and welcome to Geek's Memory. When we talk about Hideo Kojima, the conversation usually goes to Metal Gear or Death Stranding, but his career has a parallel trajectory, full of experiments and projects that shaped his style. In this video, let's classify the 10 best unknown games of the legendary creator. In the first place, PT, released in 2014 as an anonymous demo on PS4, PT, which means playable teaser, features a single scenario, a hallway that repeats itself in a loop. Every detail, a radio that whispers new, a photo that changes the echo of steps, and the presence, named Lisa, contributes to a suffocation and paranoid atmosphere. The first-person game commits to minimalist psychological horror. No interface, no combat, only the player. The sound and the growing fear. Progression happens through angles and micro-interactions that change space each turn, transforming the familiar into something strange. Terror doesn't come from direct fright, but from conditioning. What the game is doing is in your mind. You learn, little by little, to fear the simple act of looking back. In the end, the revelation of all this proved to be a teaser from Silent Hill, an ambitious project that would unite Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro, but unfortunately, it was cancelled after Kojima's departure from Konami. In second place, Zone of the Ender from 2001 and PS2. Set in a future of intense space conflict, Zone of the Enders follow young Leo, who happened to become a Jehud pilot, an advanced mecha equipped with its own artificial intelligence. Forced to fight amid chaos, Leo finds himself torn between duty and consciousness. While the plot explores civil war, militarization, and the ethical limit between humans' control and machine autonomy, reflections Kojima would later expand in Metal Gear Solid 2. The gameplay reinforced this duality, combining fast action and tactical precision. Combats are aerial, intense, and fluid, guided by a lock-on system, dashes and parries, and special attacks that require quick reflex and pattern reading. Every mission brings not only enemies, but also consequences. Collateral destructions can lead to civilization casualties and affect your assessment. With its cinematic framing, clean arenas, particle effect, and electronic soundtracks, each battle becomes a visual and emotional spectacle, where the line between hero and destruction grows ever tinier. In third place, Castlevania Lord of Shadows from 2010, PS3 and Xbox 360. This title refreshed the franchise, placing Gabriel Belmont on a journey of redemption after a personal tragedy. Driven by mourning and faith, he faced the fearsome Lord of Shadow in a narrative mixing destiny, loss, and redemption. With cinematic direction and a high-quality voice acting, the game repositions the myth of the Belmont clan in a new light, revealing twists that give depth to mythological and the world of Castlevania. The gameplay combines hacking and slash action with moments of exploration and reflection, brings tactile decisions between healing or dealing more damage. Each combat is choreographed like a show, with open arenas, massive bosses, and a rhythm-based progression. Chapter by chapter, between battles, puzzles, and platform sections, reinforce the sense of epic journey. The result is a cinematic, emotional, and grand experience that gave new life to Castlevania series. In fourth place, Metal Gear Solid 2 2005 from PSP. Metal Gear Acid 2 expands the multiverse started by the first game, staying outside of the main Metal Gear series. In the new plot, Solid Snake dives into a corporate web of biotech weapons experiments, preserving the tone of political intrigues and genetic manipulation typical of Kojima works, but now with a scenario of absolute strategic control over every movement. The gameplay transformed the espionage of the series into a deck-building tactical system, where every action, attack, defense, or gadget is represented by cards that must be carefully managed. Battles happen on grid-based maps, with line of signs, cover, and alert systems, recreating the tension of a classic stealth mode. With a board game structure, the writing is methodical and strategic, requiring planning and terrain reading, rather than reflex. One highlight was the Solid Eye accessory, a cardboard viewer included with the game that offered 3D effects, anticipating experiments that the industry would explore years later. In 5th place, Boktai, The Sun is in Your Hand, 2003, from Game Boy Advance. Boktai is one of the most inventive experiences of Hideo Kojima's career, combining narrative, design, and the real world into one system. You play as Django, a young vampire hunter, on a planet drowned in darkness, where sunlight is literally the only weapon capable of purifying the undead. The history mixes gothic, mythological, and adventure, exploring hope and balance between light and darkness. The game key's innovation was its game card with a real solar sensor, which measures ultraviolet light. This energy charged Django's solar gun and directly influenced gameplay. Structures as a top-down stealth game focused on infiltration, dungeon solving, and the strategies involving shadow and light. During each cycle, player must drag vampire coffins outside of the castle to purify them under a sunlight, making real-world weather and time variables part of the design of the game itself. Boktai turned sunlight into part of storytelling, merging the physical and the digital worlds. In 6th place, Snatcher 1988 from PC. One of Kojima's most influential works, Snatcher blends science fiction, cinematic storytelling, and a social critique. Set in New Cube City, a cyberpunk metropolis dominated by madness and technological out of control, the game follows Gillian Seed, an agent of Junker, tasked with investigation the Snatchers, androids that murder humans and take their identities. The plot delves into bioengineer, identity, memories, and technological paranoia, mixing detective noir with futuristic dystopia. The game follows the point-and-click adventure and visual novel format, centered on dense dialogues, investigation scenes, and clue collection. Players must interrogate characters, examine crime scenes, and uncover conspiracies through detailed observation. With its mature story, complex world building, and 80s film-inspired Snatcher anticipated the cinematic storytelling that would become Kojima's signature. In 7th place, Policenauts 1994 from PC, PS1, and Sega Saturn. The history follows Jonathan Ingram, a former space policeman who, after an accident, drifted into space and is rescued decades later. Without aging thanks to cryogenic suspension, returned to society. He feels displaced in a future ruled by megacorporations and technological dependence. His return to action begins when a former partner asks him to investigate the disappearance of her ex-husband of the space colony Beyond Coast, unveiling a conspiracy of pharmaceutical trafficking and political corruption, inspired by buddy cop films and the sci-fi of 80s and 90s. Policenauts mixes personal relationships, ethics, and reflections of the human condition. Structured as a visual novel, the game offered detailed exploration, clue collection, and interrogation sequences that test the player deduction skills. It combines emotion and realism in a melancholic portrayal of the future. A space thriller where past and future collide, and Kojima, since his storytelling style as a player were inside the movie. In 8th place, Lunar Knight 2006 from Nintendo DS. Spiritual successor to Boktai, Lunar Knights expand the concept of light and darkness into a darker technological world on a planet ruled by a vampire lord who manipulated the climate to sustain an eternal night. Two unlike heroes, Lucian, the warrior of shadows, and Aaron, the hunter of light, join forces to restore balance. The gameplay blends action RPG and top-down exploration, alternating dynamically between characters with distinct affinities. Lucian channels darkness, while Aaron wields solar power. This duality affects combat, puzzles, and world interactions. The DS touchscreen introduces minigames and flight sequences, while the dynamic weather alters damage and routes. When Boktai cartridge is inserted in DS, the solar sensor adds bonus effects, merging worlds once again. Lunar Knights reaffirm Kojima's creative touch, technological, emotional, and imaginative. In 9th place, Tokimeki Memorial Drama Series, 1997, from PlayStation and Sega Saturn. An experimental branch with Konami, this series reimagined Tokimeki Memorial as a narrative-driven, emotional drama. Instead of focus on stats or optimization, it emphasizes narrative, emotions, choice, and slice-of-life storytelling. Each episode presents an independent story, setting at schools, exploring friendship, romance, and coming-age dilemmas. Presenting as an interactive visual novel with light-time management and fully voiced scenes, the series immerses the player in relationships and daily decisions that lead to multiple endings. The experience moves away from dating simulation, optimization towards cinematic storytelling, living in the narrative and not just playing. In 10th place, Penguin Adventure, 1986 from MSX. A directly sequel to Uncharted Adventure and one of Kojima's earliest projects at Konami, Penguin Adventure follows Pentaro, the penguin who won a race against the time to save a princess, afflicted by a deadly illness. To succeed, he must cross frozen landscape full of obstacles and unpredictable dangers. The gameplay blends action and race in a pseudo 3D perspective, a technical innovation for its time. Players dodge obstacles, leap over crevices, and collect the items in a high speed between stages. They can visit shops to buy power-ups and equipment, introduction progression, and strategy. Dynamic events like collapsing ice or enemies' ambushes ensure no run is ever the same, with its challenge pace, vibrant visuals, and surprisingly advanced mechanicals for the time. Penguin Adventure stands as one of the earliest examples of Kojima's style, transforming a simple premise into an engaging, detail-rich experience. And that was our top 10 of Hideo Kojima lesser-known games. So, did you know them all? Penguin Adventure, Zone of the Enders, Policenauts. Comment which one of you played. And don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and share with your friends so we can bring more content like this. Thank you all.